Shalom, shalom, peace and blessings. Now let's get straight into it. So today's lesson is going to be on essentially this first part of this question is going to be about the quote unquote guerrilla Hebrew situation. But also we're going to talk about should an Israelite man sign a marriage contract or a marriage license or have a marriage license. And I do think this is important because it has way more nuance to me than what a lot of people talk about. You know, in this society, we say, OK, because marriage is not a signing of a contract and giving your authority of your marriage to the state, we just kind of leave it there. And a lot of people never go that route. But there's more nuances. If you're not going to go that route, there is more nuance to consider. All right. But I won't address this too long. But the question is here. This is, again, I'm responding to a question or a comment that a brother had. So the question is here. So I might as well talk about it. So let's see. Brother said, yes, that guerrilla Hebrew situation was crazy, especially since his so-called wife is the one who initiated that idea. Well, that was according to him that it was his, like you say, your so-called wife. Look, again, I want to be very direct here and I want to be upfront and be as transparent and honest as possible with the brothers and sisters that's hearing this right now. I am not saying that this brother Guerrilla Hebrew did anything. I'm not accusing him of anything. Like in the last video, I was just being honest and saying, based on what I saw, I believe the things that he said on the response, I believe some of those things were not true. I believe that there was more going on there. However, I can't say that for 100% sure. I wasn't there. Thank the Lord I wasn't. But I wasn't there. I can confirm or deny it. But based on what I saw, you know, I find some of these things hard to believe. Like it's just a role playing thing. You know, she initiated, like you say here, his wife initiated everything. It was just her and he was just playing along with it. You know, he purchased the quote unquote pegging kit, which I was just made aware of. I didn't even know that was a thing, or the name of that thing was called a pegging kit or whatever. He purchased it. He said he made it vanish. You know, that was his words. He didn't know nothing about it. And that's just like, I guess that's just the first time something like that ever happened. I just don't, from what I know about these types of things, you don't just go from 0 to 100 like that. You know, you don't go from just doing, regular stuff. When I say regular, at least what a married couple would do in a bedroom, even if you're doing some stuff like, a little bit on the kinkier side, I don't know, like a role playing or something. Maybe if you're doing something like that, that may be a step above what everybody else do. But I still consider that 0 in this case. I don't think you go from 0 to 100. That's 100 to me. Like involving something like that, like a sex toy that's going to be used on you. Like I just think, I don't think people go from 0 to 100 like that. And that's just me at least being honest. I don't even want to talk about it if I'm not going to give my honest take on it. Okay. But again, I wasn't there. Oh, thank the Lord I was not. But I didn't see it, so I can't confirm or deny. So I just want to make that very clear. But again, the reason that I went the idolatry route or saying that brothers that I saw were being a respect of persons, simply because I know for a fact if one of these quote unquote pastors in the Christian church, what's that dude name that be doing all the Fugazi stuff too? Man, I can't think of his name right now. Lord willing, I'll put it on the screen, or I can't think of his name, or like a TD Jakes, something like that. If one of these cats did that, the breakdowns would be endless. Brothers would be going live streaming it, doing a breakdown every day for the rest of the month and bleeding into the next month. So I'm not saying to do that with this situation or to condemn the brother, but at the same time, the way that you build a strong community, or, in a case like this, where we have to keep each other accountable. It was too much coddling to me. like, oh, bro, it's gonna be all right. You repented, everything straight. Like, stop acting like everything's straight. This was a very unique and different situation. Why y'all acting like it's not? I just don't understand that. Like, if I do something like that, I deserve to be called out. I deserve to be exposed. I want to be exposed. Like, I deserve it. And here's another thing that y'all, I don't think that y'all thinking about. Two things. Number one, if he came out himself and admitted to these things, my whole vibe would be different. Because a lot of times people are not sorry that it happened. They sorry that they got caught. That's two completely different things. Now, if this brother came out and just got ahead of it and was like, I've been doing some messed up stuff. I went to therapy about it. I repented about it. I'm going to put myself out there. Then there's nothing I could say. I would be on here with a completely different vibe. Like, yo, hey, we all did, for the most part, we all did some crazy stuff. Maybe not that crazy when it come to, on that level, but who don't have some things that they ashamed of that they've done in their lifetime, especially if you in your mid-20s on up, in your 30s, 40s, there's probably some things that you've done that you're not proud of. And just because whatever I've done is not on the same level, especially like in the bedroom. Yeah, I've never engaged in nothing like that, but that don't make me a better man because I haven't done exactly what he's done, because iniquity is iniquity. However, I'm just saying that he didn't come out and say it. He just responded, and y'all acting like, I don't know. I'm not supposed to just act like ain't nothing happened just because he responded once something came out. Like, and yeah, it was some crazy stuff around how it came out too. That also, there's a lot of debate there about how the information was presented in the first place, and his wife, quote unquote, exposing them, and the brother bringing out the information online first instead of like actually hitting the brother up. All of that there's a lot of validity to that too as well. But at the end of the day, when it comes to information like this, the Most High always has his way of bringing the dark to the light. Okay, what happens in the dark will come to the light. And that's just what it is there. And you can't be mad about how. It's more people talking about how, oh, bro, that's messed up because they could have called their brother. And man, come on. Like, yeah, that may be true 100%, but come on, y'all. Like, pay more attention to what happened instead of how it happened. Like, that don't take away from nothing that he potentially engaged in. Not saying he did or didn't, but just saying that don't take away from it, though. If this was just like regular stuff, maybe again they were doing like some type of kinky stuff. I don't know, wearing costumes or something. I don't know what you could do, but anything that was just no type of fornication, it was still clean. Like, then it's like, bro, what is you doing? Why is you bringing something like this out? Like, are you kidding me? But it was on a whole different level when you add in him having his wife create a profile and him wanting to log ins and wanting to see his wife talk to another man, especially a so-called white man. Again, he said he went to therapy about it. I guess I have to take his word for that. I have to take his word for it. It is what it is. But, the rest of that, I just don't know anybody that, just from my perspective of what I've seen, I just don't know people that would just go out of nowhere, and just start something like that. Y'all just, on some regular type of time, and then you and your wife on some regular type of time, and then one of y'all, whether her or you, come up and be like, baby, let's add a little spice. Oh, okay, what you trying to do? Go to Amazon. I want you to find the biggest butt plug. Yo, I mean, I'm just saying that's just not normally how that works. In my head, it makes me think, what else, when it comes to fornication, not in their bedroom, but what else was really going on? I'm just being real. I don't have time to sit there and call nobody, because I don't want nobody calling me. I want brothers to treat me how I want to be treated. And I don't like to be treated like that. I don't want nobody lying to me. I don't want nobody calling me and making me feel better about things that I really should be condemned for. All right. I don't respect that at all. And I don't like brothers around me that's like that don't tell the truth and don't all this sugarcoating. All this stuff is just sugarcoating to me. Oh, he did repent. So come on. Would he really have said something though if his wife didn't take that screen recording and if the information didn't come out? So because apparently if he had went to therapy, that happened a long time ago. And I'm not saying I don't know. I'm not saying that all at the same time that I've just, I've exposed everything I've done. Like he got to just put everything out on the internet per se. But I'm saying when it goes to a certain level and you're in a certain position, then yeah, I mean, you do have to consider these things. Maybe you put yourself out there first, it depending on your situation. But either way, I just didn't like the calling. I thought it was idolatry. I truly did, because y'all were being respectful persons, because y'all just sitting there acting like ain't nothing happened. Like the brother said here in the next line, that's very wicked and weird. I agree. I do agree with this. I thought it was wicked and weird, and I think it's a shame to sit up there and act like it wasn't and just, brother, it's okay, come back as soon as you can. And bruh, like stuff like this, we should be like, hey, bro, what you got going on? Hold up now. Like, look, I'll take your word for it to say you didn't do it, but hey, homie, like, before you come around me again, we got to see where you at. Let me pull up some files on you, homie. Like, yeah, that's how it is. And I expect the same treatment if something like that happened to me. I really do. So, I mean, that's how I think it should have been treated. I'm just embarrassed by y'all. And when I say y'all, just those that were acting like that, it is what it is, though, again. But our brother said, thanks for addressing James too. Praises. Great lesson as usual. I appreciate that. All right, brother said, I have another question. You have a particular camp saying that we must abide by a marriage contract in the U.S. for a woman to be your wife. Well, that's a lie. You definitely do not have to sign a marriage contract for a woman to be your wife. However, when it comes to what a wife is in the scriptures, we do have to understand that when we read the law, when it comes down to a woman being your wife, it's just completely different in this world than what it was according to the law. So that's definitely not the case. And that's what I don't like. I don't like when brothers make things that's pharisaic. All right. When you make something that you want to be true, to just make it law, or something that you agree with and you try to make it law. Like brothers and sisters do that with multiple wives. There is no sin with having multiple wives. However, again, that's just like this situation. There's so much nuance that goes into that, but just within itself, just is having multiple wives a sin? Absolutely not. 1,000% not. It's not even a little bit. It's not like a kind of bit or, well, if this and this, it's just not at all. Okay. The nation of Israel would not be built if it wasn't for that law being the case, like being intact. That we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have 12 tribes because Jacob built the 12 tribes with 4 different wives. Okay. Rachel, Leah, and then they both of their handmaids. All right. So we know that you just can't get around that. However, if you go on and say, well, you going off if you have multiple wives, you're in sin if you have multiple wives, that's just a whole different level. Just like this, you cannot say that you must sign a marriage contract in the U.S. for a woman to be your wife. That's nonsense. I haven't seen anyone say that in particular. I know there's some camps that's more like strict on that. From what I hear, I haven't heard this out the horse's mouth, by the way, but just from what I've been told, to my understanding, IUIC is kind of heavy on this. I don't know if that's a camp you're talking about. I don't know. I don't think so, really. You may be talking about somebody else, but that's definitely not the case. I'm not accusing IUIC of that either. I just know from what I've been told that they are not heavy on a marriage contract, but they just they do want brothers in their system to have a marriage contract. But again, we're gonna what I'm about to talk about next, I haven't seen anyone talk about. And I think it definitely needs to be addressed 1,000% too, because we just, you know what, let me read on and then I'll go into it. It says, brother said, they always prefer to Tobit 7:14. And he called Edna, his wife, took paper, wrote an instrument of covenants, and sealed it. So I do believe that to be the case, that even though we don't see in the law where you have a covenant per se, like a written covenant, I believe there probably was some type of a written record, nowhere near the same as a marriage contract where you giving the authority to the state, nothing like that. However, I do believe that there probably was, because we know there was a bill of divorce. So there probably was a written instrument of who you were married to. Okay. But that's when everything was ran by an actual system authorized and overseen by the Most High. Okay. When you have Levitical priests, like it's a lot of brothers that just don't really understand this. What we live at right now, like in this priestless society, there's just so many different things that we cannot do according to when we read in the law. It's just things are completely different in this Babylonian system. You have to accept that. Okay. You can't get around it. You have to accept it. The reason why what we do today and what was done at that time when we still had Levitical priests or the temple is because, again, the Most High was dealing with the Levitical priests. They were getting direct instruction from the angels, and the angels deal directly with the Most High. You get it? So right now, where we don't have a direct connection with the Most High is not dealing with anybody on that level at this current time. Like the scriptures say, he's pretty much turned his back on us. All right, that's going to change when Yahushua comes back, or probably even closer to that time, right? Where you'll see the Most High starting to deal with brothers on a different level. But until that time, we really don't have that type of instruction, to see what we doing wrong or what we doing right. Okay. Now, with that being said, again, that doesn't mean that you just do whatever the case. See, Christians to a certain level, like, they will hear something like this and they think that means just wild out. That don't mean wild out. It does mean that you're supposed to look at the law and you're supposed to keep the statute, laws, and commandments according to what we have to the best of your ability. But all at the same time, you can't put what you believe on a pedestal because it's not given directly from Christ himself or from the Most High himself. Okay. So to say you have to have this is just incorrect. But also at the same time, in my perspective, signing a marriage contract is not sin in itself. The things that I would not do, and we're going to talk more about this, I would not get on one knee to propose. The reason that you do that in this society is so that you can put the woman on the pedestal as if you have to get her permission from a standpoint of just her, like she's the goddess, just like you have the different goddesses that were worshipped in the scriptures. Okay, you pretty much making her your goddess if you're getting down on your knee. The only entity you should be getting down on the knee for is the Most High and his Son. That's it. The only entities, I should say. That's it. You should never get on your knee to nobody. All right, especially, well, as a man, okay? As a woman, that's different. But for the man, she should only be getting down on her knees. Forget it, I'm being real today. She should only be getting down on her knees for the Most High Son and her husband. But the man, he should only be getting down on his knees for the Most High and his Son, and that's it. Okay, you shouldn't wear, at least in my perspective, you shouldn't wear a quote unquote a wedding ring, because I didn't see any mention of that in the scriptures too as well. Okay, that's done in veneration of the pagan goddesses too as well. I believe Venus. Okay, I believe they call it the ring of Venus. I would have to pull that up. I haven't looked that up in a minute, but either way, I haven't seen anything about a wedding ring. It's unfortunate because for those of us that have a wife or, whatever the case, for the sisters that have, a husband, you have a spouse, you will want to show other people that that's the case, but it's different ways of doing it too. Like you would see the women wearing a nose ring, but neither here or there, but that's also separate from having a quote unquote marriage contract. You don't have to have one, but there is a reason that you should consider it. Okay. Brother said, can you address that when you get a chance? Greatly appreciate it. Appreciate you for commenting and watching. I really do. He said, and I don't know why cats would sign contracts after what happened to Iman Shumpert. So here's the thing. Here's the part where I'm going to start talking about a few things that I never see brothers mention. So I completely see what you're saying here, because I looked up, I didn't know anything about the Iman Shumpert situation until I read this, and I looked it up, and I saw where he in a sticky situation with the quote unquote Tiana Taylor person, which some people think is a man. I'm not saying that she is or isn't, but I'm just saying what the allegations are. But either way, he is in a sticky situation, it appears. You know, she's already moved on. She's taking pictures with the other brother and stuff like that. I saw, and I get it. However, every time we have this narrative of like, why is cat signing contracts and don't sign no contract, don't get married to a woman, she take everything from you, she gonna get half the stuff she didn't work for, all that. I get it, and I completely agree with that to a certain standpoint. However, when you get the right woman, none of this matters. None of this matters. Okay. The woman is not the right woman. An actual wife is not this woman that you're trying to hide your assets from, that you're trying to hide everything from. You're trying to protect yourself from her. Okay. She's somebody that you actually want to share everything with, especially in an unfortunate case where you pass away early. And then on another level, especially when you have children with her. Like when I see stuff like this, it's like, I'm not talking about you, brother, because Lord knows, like, you're not the only person to say this and nothing like that. So I'm not on you or what you said here, because I don't even disagree with this, because you should be watching who you sign a contract with in this society 1,000%. However, what I am saying, though, is when you have the right woman, none of this matters. Like the whole 50-50 debate, none of that matters when you have the right woman, because nobody is going to care about who's paying what. You know, the woman's not going to feel remorse about that. All right. When really, and my answer to that is the man should be paying everything when he's in a position to do so. Why? Because the woman is your helpmeet. Okay. That's not, and I'm talking about once you actually solid with a woman, you've been down with her, y'all been together for years. Then, you know, if she not willing to live in her own place and take care of most of her own stuff, you may be taking care of stuff here and there just while y'all trying to see how things work. All right. Then she ain't the one. If she already trying to get you to pay for stuff and y'all known each other all together for less than a year and she pushing for it, she probably not the one, bro. She probably not the one. So I'm talking about when you actually have someone that you've been with for years. You've been through situations, because for the most part, you don't really know somebody until you've been through things with them. All right. You don't know somebody until certain situations happen, especially involving money, in a multitude of other things, especially money. Okay. When you see how they respond to small things, when you see how they respond to big things, when you travel with somebody, that's a huge thing there. When you travel with somebody, a lot of times it's almost like staying with somebody. It's like a sample size of that, because you get a hotel for 2, 3, 4, maybe 5+ nights. And that's almost like staying with them. If you go travel with somebody, you know, 2, 3 different times and y'all arguing back and forth, she not the one either. Okay. But I'm talking about y'all done travel together. You done been through money issues together. Y'all have had conflict, but you rose above it. Y'all don't argue. Y'all don't go back and forth. And it's been going on for years. This is not a woman that you want to, I ain't signed no contract for. And, you know, I don't know why catch it. Like, this is not the time for that. That's how you treat somebody that's not really your woman. She more of a concubine level. You're not really dealing with her like that, especially no children are involved. But when you have children, you've been with a woman, especially again, 5+, 7+ years, 10+ years, 20 years, whatever the case. Why is this somebody you trying to hide your assets from? You know, you want to make sure that she don't get this or that. I mean, Why? Like she's not your enemy. She's somebody you do want to protect. Like a lot of the red pill movement stuff right now, all of that is all geared towards somebody that you only quote unquote date or somebody you don't trust. But if you have somebody you actually trust and you love, and they trust and they love you, and you have no reason to ever believe that anything is going on, and there are ways to see it. Brothers just don't be having that discernment, to be real. But when you have someone like that, she is not someone that you trying to avoid these situations with. Okay, she's not, because she a real actual wife material woman is not someone that's going to take advantage of you just because you sign a contract. Okay, she's not trying to get over on you. She is somebody that you want to have life insurance set, that you want to take care of her if something happened. You know, the other quote unquote privileges that come with being quote unquote married in this society, that is someone that you want to take care of. It's everybody else that should not come close to being in your world enough to have any type of, earnings or any type of, sharing of your assets if something was to happen. Okay. And I get it with Iman Shumpert. I get it. Like in this type of situation, he might have thought that was that woman, and then look what she did. I get it. I don't know their situation well enough. I know they had like a reality show together. Like, oh, that's stupid stuff. Like but she not somebody I would like consider to be a wife material woman at all either. Like anybody like that's a quote unquote celebrity. I mean, there's just no way. But what I have noticed is, a quick side note, the so-called white celebrities, they be married for a long time. It's a lot of us that be doing stuff like this, but I'll be looking up a lot of the so-called white actors and actresses, and they've been married 10, 20, 30 years plus. And I'm not saying, I'm not trying to create a narrative that we don't have it. You have like a Denzel and even a LeBron James and things like that. But yeah, for the most part, we be the ones doing stuff like this. And I think that's part of the programming where, these assets are told to do these different things so that we would sow this type of disbelief in being together with somebody. Because look what Iman did. Look what Kanye did. Look what happened with so-and-so. Insert NBA player, NFL player that no longer is with the woman they married. And I completely get it. But when a wife material woman, an actual woman, the woman that scriptures talk about, this is not a woman that you want to apply these things with. Okay. That's my perspective on it. All right. And it's really about just having a discernment of when that woman is really a wife material woman and when she's not. When you have that discernment, then you don't have to worry about stuff like this, because she's not going to, you sign a contract and then she's just going to start acting out. You have children where she's just going to start acting out. A lot of brothers be like, man, she changed when we had kids. No, you just found out who she really was. She didn't really change. The veil of who you thought she was just removed. She didn't change. Like, something don't just automatically change on every woman because said situation. Well, when we moved in together, she changed. No, she didn't. You just finally figured out who she was. That's all. These types of situations don't really change people. Like they say, money changes people. Money just exposes who you really are. It doesn't change you. If you solid, if you a sincere person, you have a strong and contrite spirit, things can't change you. You're not moved. You're not moved just by situations changing. All right, you don't change. You hold it down. Like they say, 10 toes down. But when you all over the place, because a lot of brothers be talking like this, not saying you, brother, but a lot of brothers be saying stuff like this. You like Iman, like you not somebody that, can hold a woman down for real. All right. And then even worse, like a lot of brothers don't even have assets like this. Like you wouldn't lose nothing anyways. Like brothers still working on the credit score, still working on getting some money on, y'all still trying to get stuff together. Like you ain't got nothing to lose anyways. It ain't until you actually got some properties under your belt, or, I know it's a little bit different for brothers like on the East Coast and stuff like that, especially live in California where the median house price is like $1 million. So not like properties, but if that's the case for your properties, or, you actually got some money in the bank, your credit is on point, you have a stable job, career, or business, that's when you have to be protective. But you, like, a lot of y'all still building up. Y'all not even ready to even consider nothing like this. So what does it matter? But the attitude shouldn't be, I don't know why anybody would sign this. And again, a lot of brothers be like, I'll never marry no woman. I would never marry a woman. Yeah. And that type of energy keeps a wife material woman away from you when you have that perspective. You can't attract nobody like that when your whole thing is, I would never find a woman like that, or I would never marry a woman. Okay, the Most High gonna keep a woman that you could marry, that you could trust, away from you, because your whole perspective is, well, I would never be able to do that, or I'd never do that. Okay, Most High be like, bet that I ain't gonna send one of these type of women your way. If you want the Most High to bless you, then you have to be open to this type of stuff, to actually finding someone that you could trust. Okay, they do exist. They are few and far between. I'm not sitting up here acting like these women are, you might not even know, you might not have ever even met. You might be 30 years old and never even met a woman like this before. And I get it. I'm not saying that it's easy to find, but if you're really looking for the Most High, if He dealing with you, then He will send you one that you can trust. It's even people in the world that don't have these problems. It's not like every single woman is just this secret agent that's just waiting to get your money. Like, yeah, 90% of them are. Let's be real. 90% of these women are, probably even higher. It might be 95 to 99%. All right. Only 1% of these women you can actually trust, but the Most High will put that 1% woman in your life. It might be even less than 1%. Let's be real. But the Most High will put, you think the Most High can't do that? Like, come on, man. It's not like every single woman in this world is just wicked. Out of these billions of women, you can't find one that you could trust. Like, that's just not the case. Okay. And look, I used to think the same thing. So I'm not condemning you, brother, that wrote this question, or anybody else for having that perspective. I'm just trying to provide a different perspective, in a different way to look at it. And here's the other part of it. I mentioned this, briefly. When it comes to like an unfortunate passing away or something like that, like here's the problem, right? When you don't have a marriage contract and you just like, okay. And by the way, I just want to address this. I do not have a marriage contract at this current moment. Okay, so I just want to put that out there too. But here's the thing, right? Brothers be thinking about what could go wrong so much that they don't consider what could go right. What if you do find this wife? What if y'all are together for 30 years, 40 years, however long the Most High bless you with, and she's done nothing? She has, when I say done nothing, meaning she has been nothing but a good wife to you the entire time. You may have had some back and forths or something like that, but she ain't never crossed you the wrong way. She's been a loving, loyal wife the entire duration of your marriage. And when I say marriage, according to the scriptures, to the best of our ability, meaning, she's your wife. This is the woman that you with. Then again, you pass, and now the bank has froze your assets. You may have $100K in the bank, but she can't touch none of it. You got children together. Your children can't touch the money. She got to go back and forth at the courts just to get access to something, because you, from a quote unquote legal standpoint, didn't set anything in place. You didn't have a will in place. Okay. You didn't have a power of authority in place, or whatever the case. And she can get, she can get access to your assets. Now what? That's what I think that brothers is not thinking about. Like, what if it goes right? Then what? So that's another thing about accepting that we in Babylon is that a marriage contract is really no different from having a license. It's really no different from having a social security number and card. There's really no different from having a birth certificate. This quote unquote marriage license is all wicked. This is all pagan. Okay. But the reason that we do these things is because you only got two options: either to live in a society, play the game so that you can do what you need to do to take care of you and your family. Okay. because we know we are only in this world. We are not part of it. Because, if you have just because you have a birth certificate or a social security card, and this is not according to the scriptures, that doesn't mean that you wicked, right? Because you just got born into the system. You just doing your best. Okay. So you can either do that, or you can go completely off the grid and you go out there and hunt everything and build your own house from the ground up. Don't go into Home Depot or nothing for the materials either. You got to go out there and actually go get your own wood and, get your own steel from wherever you're going to get the materials from, and you got to go build your own house. All right. You got to go create your own food. And you got to be in some land that's not owned or protected by anything else either, because if you do that, then they still gonna come get you. So you got to deal the so-called white man that's over this society right now. He made it to where you had to deal with him to get anything done for the most part. And if not, he's gonna make your life a living hell to try to not deal with him to a certain capacity. That's just the truth of it. And I'm not saying that some brothers might hear this and think brother, you just conceding, or, whatever the case. They may think this is like a sign of concession. It's not. Or conceding. This is not me conceding. It's just that I know that just because, like right now, I'm on an Apple computer, okay, where the logo is literally an apple with a bite off of it. Okay. That's literally them referring to Adam and Eve, even though we know there was never an apple mentioned, but that's the energy that they bring it on. They're literally saying that they are down with the serpent. Okay. That's what that logo means. That's why they have an apple bitten off. They're saying that you should accept the left-hand path. You should accept idolatry. Bite the apple. Okay. Accept the serpent's teachings. All right. That's what they're saying. But just because I have this doesn't mean that I believe in that. You know what I mean? If you have a marriage contract, that doesn't mean that you are saying that this is a sign that you are married. You are literally just trying to take care of things from a legal standpoint. Okay. According to this society. And that's it. We live in this world. We are not of this world. Okay. Like the scriptures say, we're not of this world. You can be in it. That don't mean anything. Okay. That's it. So we have to consider that it's a few steps deeper than just being with a woman and you don't ever consider these things. It's way deeper than that. All right. But do you have to have one for a woman to be your wife? No, absolutely not. That doesn't make a woman your wife at all. But all at the same time, nah. Let's not act like this doesn't matter at all, because it does. Do you have to have one? No, I'm not saying you do have to have one. But if you sign one, if you with the right woman, you're not going to be Iman Shumpert. Okay. It's just, that's what brothers have to consider. You have to look for, I know this is completely cliche, but the Proverbs 31 woman, that's the type of woman that you have to look for. All right. Or in Sirach 25 and 26. Okay. Now let's go here. It says here, legal protection for couples who aren't legally married. All right. It says key takeaways. Generally, married couples have more legal rights than unmarried couples. Legal rights for married couples may include entitlement to a share of each other's estate, exemption from testifying against each other in court. Hey, this might, this could come up. This could definitely be something that, you may need. I'm just saying, is it likely? No, absolutely not. It's not likely, but it could be. Being named next of kin, tax benefits. You can't file married jointly from a tax standpoint without being quote unquote married when it comes to having a marriage license, and entitlements after a divorce. Now that part is what scares brothers the most. And again, I 1,000% agree. If we're talking about just any random woman or a woman that you just met, that's why I always advocate for the woman that you marry. Like, it really need to be somebody that you've known or somebody else have known. Like, you can reach somebody or somebody directly that's known them for 5, 10 plus years. I am not a fan of brothers like meet somebody they didn't know they existed until a year ago, or the first time you knew they existed, and then you start a relationship with them, and then you move in. You only known they existed for a total of 2 years. There's so many different things that they could have been before, but if you have different, people around them that's known them, those types of things will probably come out. Because she could be lying to you about stuff that she did or didn't do. But if you know people that know her, they going to bring it out. All right. Most High, again, just has a certain way of bringing that out. And you just have to watch certain things. Like if y'all go places, she don't want to go to a lot of places locally. She want to move. Hell, I think we should just move. Yeah, because she got a lot of skeletons in her closet. She don't want people to see, nobody that she know. All right. But anyways, you got a woman that let's just be real here. You got a woman that wasn't ran through like that, then this is not an issue. This is not an issue at all. Right? You can be in your hometown, her hometown, and everything's still straight. She's still got a good report. So you don't have to move nowhere else and all of that, which I do think is important when it comes to finding an actual wife. I do think that you have to consider, you do have to consider amount of partners that she's had, because let's be real, the more that she's had, the more likely it is that some spirits from somebody else and jumped off on her. Let's just be real here. All right. So like less than 5, I think is ideal. And yes, they do still exist. Those type of women do still exist, which I think we need to make a separate video on. But they do still exist. All right. And another thing is I'm super random today, but it is what it is. I'm just going based on what Spirit telling me to say. But like my mother and father, all right, my mother and father has been married for over 30 years, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's over 30 years, right? They'll let me know because they'll be watching, but they'll let me know. They've been married for over 30 years. All right. And of course, they have a marriage license because before they came into this walk and they had an understanding of the scriptures. They obviously had a marriage contract a long time ago. My mama didn't leave my dad, you know what I'm saying? Like, and they were just like anybody else that was in the world. All right. These types of things do happen. All right. And she has no interest in just randomly pulling a quote unquote divorce, especially if nothing happens and he don't do nothing, no type of infidelity or nothing like that. All right. And, so these types of things can't happen. You can't have an actual wife that you could do this with and she just wouldn't get you. Okay. Especially when she doesn't have anything to gain and she doesn't have a wandering eye. Like a lot of times you think of this woman as just somebody just always looking for the next dude and always looking for the man with the more money than you and all that. Like the wife material woman is grounded. She's not concerned about stuff like that. Like she's not always looking at the next dude. Okay. She's not interested in doing nothing like that. Really, a wife material woman, let's put it out here. As long as you not like beating her and you not just literally just sleeping off every night, even if you did it like once or something like that, especially if there was some type of explanation, she probably still wouldn't leave you, to be real. Like as long as you're not beating her or you not like just completely messing it up, she not gonna leave you, bro. Like that's just how those type of women are set. But if you have anything other than that, because my belief, there's only 2 type of women. You have a wife material woman and then you got everybody else. Okay. It's just that if you talk to most women, if you pick 10 women off the street and said that were single, quote unquote single, meaning they don't have a husband. So they got to be single, right? You ask 10 different women that's single. Do you want to be a wife? My estimation is that 80% of them or 8 out of 10 of them would say, yes, I want to be a wife. There's only a certain amount of women that would truly admit and say that they don't want to be a wife. There's only a certain amount of women that would actually admit that. However, out of those 8 out of 10, maybe not even one of those 10 is truly a wife material woman. So you have so much noise because all the women are saying that they want to be wives. However, it's only a certain amount of only a very small amount of them that could truly that truly exude the wife material attributes. Okay, so you have to have the discernment to know what you're looking at and not base everything that you or base everything on choosing a woman based on her physical attributes. A woman that's a wife material woman could also be gorgeous and had a great body and all that. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying if you lead with physical first, you're probably gonna be lost. You probably gonna be like Iman Shumpert if you lead with physical. All right. Again, I'm not saying that you have to take an L on the woman's physical appearance. I'm just saying that for the most part, though, if the world consider her like a 10, 9, maybe even 8, but I ain't gonna say 8. I ain't gonna say, but if the world consider her 9 and 10 and all that, I mean, she might not be it, you know. What I found is like even the women that are considered like that, they normally like weird or something like that. It's like the white material women that I think, at least in my perspective, that's just like everybody think is just drop dead gorgeous and they this and that. They normally weird or something off about them. Like it's just it's hard to find a true down to earth woman that the world considers like 10 out of 10. This woman is just like one of the most gorgeous women with the best body that I've ever seen. That's natural. And then they just a white material woman. It's just, I mean, you're looking for a unicorn. Okay. And once you understand that, then it makes your journey on how you choose your woman completely different. And notice I said what the world considers a 10 because your woman should be a 10 to you. But I'm saying if you were to just put her in front of random men, they not going to look at her like you would. So, you know, anyways. And then that certain Instagram model look, you know, either light skin. Normally that's the thing, like a light skin or fair skinned woman with the, you know, y'all know what I mean, what somebody would consider a quote unquote IG baddie. All right. That's the type of woman that you probably want to stay away from, that is going to drag you through the courts. But the women that's low key, and there's plenty of them, they not worried about this stuff, bro. Like they literally just want to be taken care of and just want to be a wife. All right. I know it's hard to believe for a lot of you brothers, but it is what it is. They hard to come by. Okay. It's only about 10 of them left on the earth, but they out there. Nah, I ain't gonna say 10, probably 12. No, I'm still joking, but for real though. Okay, it says unmarried couples can achieve similar legal protections through various legal documents such as a power of attorney, healthcare directive, cohabitation agreement, and last will. So here's the thing. If you don't get a marriage license, these are the type of documents that you should consider if you have a wife material woman that you've been with, especially 5+ years. These are the types of things that you want to consider. Okay, especially when children are involved. You know, you got a woman you've been with 10+ years, no marriage license, you got 3 children together. You got to think about the future, bro. Like you have to think about what could go wrong if everything is still going right with you, not just if she try to leave you and take your money. Again, not every woman is doing that. All right. Literally most of them. And I do not mean that, like, I'm not somebody that believes, especially in the so-called black woman, to that level where I'm saying like, this is going to be easy to find. I'm not trying to push that because it's not going to be easy to find. Okay, but the Most High, if he's dealing with you, he will send you that type of woman. I just want you to understand that. All right, it says compared to unmarried couples, those who have legally tied the knot tend to have more legal rights, which is true. From being named next of kin in an emergency to being entitled to health insurance benefits. So think about like next of kin in an emergency. So think about something happen, right? Especially depending on the situation with you and your parents, and you need somebody like your woman to make a choice for you in a health emergency, and she can't because they're looking at the documents, and according to that, she's not legally your wife. These are things to consider. I don't know why nobody talks about this. Is honestly, to me, is quite disappointing that brothers don't talk about these things, but it's something to consider. All right. Couples gain several financial and personal legal rights once they get married. So how can unmarried couples find the same or similar legal protections? Or in other words, how can a couple be essentially married but not legally? So that's why I think this is a good site, because it's more on a standpoint of like, how can you not sign a marriage contract but also have some of the same benefits of someone that has the marriage contract. Okay. Luckily, there are a few legal documents you and your partner can use to gain many of the same rights typically granted to married couples. Properly executed documents like a power of attorney, healthcare directive, cohabitation agreement, and last will can help you and your partner find the legal protection you're looking for without a marriage certificate. Okay. Especially if you don't have, a common law marriage in your state. And you have a woman that you're trying to protect, right? Because that is our role, to be a protector and provider for the right woman only, for the right woman only, for the right woman only. Are you supposed to be a protector and provider? And to then you just protect and provide over you yourself and, your children, if you have them. And then, of course, the woman that's the mother of your children, she gets a certain amount of protection because she's the mother. But when it comes to husband and wife, that's, it's got to be the right woman that you do these things for. However, when that is the case, let's talk about when that is the case. These are the things that you need to consider. Okay, if you don't have common law marriage, now that opens up a whole new can of worms, just in case, some certain situations go down. All right. This says married couples. Some of the other, things that you are granted automatically once you are quote unquote married, according to the state. Entitlement to a share of each other's estate, next of kin, beneficiary, tax benefits. Yeah, you married file jointly. If any of you brothers know about taxes and the four different levels of taxation, or how you can, what do they call it? How you basically how you file. All right, your status of how you file. You got single, you got head of household, you got married filed separately, and then you got married filed jointly. If I'm not mistaken, if something's changed, that's from what I remember. Those are the main four at least. I know single, head of household, married filed separately, and married filed jointly. You can't file married filed jointly without the marriage certificate, which is much more tax benefits for that. And I'm not saying to sign a marriage contract so you have tax benefits, none like that, just to get that out the way, just in case that's not clear. I'm just explaining what they mean here, or at least one of the things, because they also mentioned here the estate tax too as well. Entitlement to alimony. That's what we're trying to avoid, all right? We don't want no payment. Somebody divorce us and they get entitled to alimony, especially for those that didn't work for it. And that's the thing too. Like, what happens when instead of a woman taking everything that she didn't work for, what if she's been there from the beginning? What happens then? What if she actually helped you build your assets that you have? I'm not saying that she's entitled to half of it and the state need to be in your business and breaking down your finances. I'm not saying that, because that's not the case. All I'm saying is that it's a lot different from you build up your empire and then you find a woman and then she try to take everything from you. It's completely different when she been around for 10 years. She was there from the beginning when you didn't have nothing. Okay. But it's still wrong. Like, of course, a woman try to take your money after. It don't matter if she been there from the beginning or on the latter end. It's still wrong if she try to divorce you to take your money. But I'm just saying that, what if that's not the case? What if she not trying to take your money? She's actually been there and you want to share assets with her to protect her. Okay. And what if it's not because like she just there to get your money? Like, she can make her own money, or she has been making her own money, and you just want to make sure she's straight. These are the types of things that you have to consider. It's not like these things never happen, right? In some places, unmarried couples who live together and combine their affairs are recognized as common law or domestic partners. In this case, they may receive some or all of the same rights awarded to married couples. But this does vary state by state, like it says here. So you have to consider, do you live in a common law marriage state? I do not. Okay. Visitation privileges, that's something that, you may want to consider. Again, when you don't have a marriage contract, you can do most of the, if not everything you can do. It just makes it a lot harder. All right. But you need to pick one of the two. If you have a wife, in my perspective, you need to pick one of the two. Either do the marriage contract, or you need to have certain rights. Certain paperwork and things filled out to protect your woman and your children. Right. That's just something that you want to consider. And anyone, if you ever worked in a bank or anything like that, you will see where if someone is not married or they didn't have them on the account, when they pass away, their wife or their husband can't touch the accounts. Like, they freeze them, and you can't touch them. You legally can't touch them. And in order to get access to them, you have to go through so much drama with the courts and with the system just to get access. All right. So, if you don't want to put your spouse in that situation, then it's just something to consider. And I know, man, brothers that don't really understand this, especially if you're younger, you like 18, 19, or maybe earlier 20s or something like that, and you haven't really had a woman like this, or you basically still building up, so you don't really have any assets like that yourself. So you got like $500 in your account or something like that. So it's really hard. This may be hard for you to see. It may not make any sense to you, but the older you get, all right, I'm basically in my mid 30s. All right, the older you get and the more that you have is from assets, all right, the more do you think about these things. Okay. So don't take this as, or you could, I don't really care. Like, I don't care how you take it, for real. I'm not on here trying to simp. I'm not advocating for marrying a woman or for a marriage contract. I'm just talking about from the standpoint, if you do have the right woman. I'm just talking about the other side of this, right? Just want to make that very clear. But again, if you take it as me simping, somebody could comment that or say it. I don't care. Like, it is what it is. Because I told you very clearly that it needs to be the right woman. Okay, you're not simping if you're taking care of your woman, the mother of your children, the woman that held you down, that had your back for 10 years. Like, how is that simping? Like, this is silly. Grant your partner authority to make decisions on your behalf. That's something big too. Again, especially in healthcare decisions, that may come up. I don't know why brothers don't talk about that, but that could come up. You have to do a power of attorney. So you want to look into like what the different laws is in your state. All right. And the way that you want to go about it, like which route do you want to take if you have that situation? But if you don't, if you're younger, especially you haven't even hit your 30s yet. I'm talking to the brothers right now. You haven't hit your 30s yet. You still building up. All right. You haven't found a woman. None of this applies to you. Don't do a marriage contract. Don't sign any of this over to a woman at all whatsoever. Don't even think about it. This is only for those that are in that situation where they do have a woman that they want to protect. They do have children and they want to protect the mother of their children so that their children be protected. That's why I'm bringing this up. Okay. So I know that this is probably way different from what you thought I was going to say, but to the brother that wrote this, but that's the things that I wanted to bring out. And know when it comes to a wife, Deuteronomy 22 is one of the chapters that you can go to. We go down here to around the 28th verse, right? It says Deuteronomy 22 and verse 28. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, let's stop right there. According to the law, this woman had to be a virgin. Now, the woman, there are cases where the woman's not a virgin, right? If the woman was a virgin, she got married to a man and he had an unfortunate end. All right, then that's also a different story. But for the most part, according to the law, you're not supposed to be with a woman that was a harlot. You're not supposed to marry her. All right, you had harlots, but men were not supposed to marry those harlots. All right, scriptures tell you not to be joined to a harlot, and that's spiritually and physically. All right, if a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her and lie with her, and they be found, then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver. My question is, who has 50 shekels of silver to give to a man to take on his woman to be his wife? Do we know what 50 shekels of silver really is and like the exact denomination? And furthermore, do the father even understand that? Because the father has to be down with the scriptures too. He has to also be in the quote unquote truth. He has to, because if not, none of this even makes any sense. You're just going to be giving them, say you do got the 50 shekels of silver, you're going to be giving it to him. He ain't going to know what to do. Okay. So do we have that before we talk about, how crazy a marriage license is and everything, which it is. All right. But I'm just saying, when you talk about making a woman your wife and you going according to the law, let's talk about what's actually in here. Let's stop looking over it and stop ignoring things. All right. It says, and she shall be his wife. So it was more to it than, so sex is not equal to marriage. Like a lot of times we say sex does not equal marriage in itself by itself. You still had certain things that you had to do. Okay. So you did have to provide a man with either shekels, but we saw also other examples in the scriptures. This is not a marriage lesson per se, so we can grab the scriptures at another time. But we see, like what we see where in Genesis, the 29th chapter, if I'm not mistaken, where you have Jacob and the work that he put in for Rachel. We ended up with Leah at first, but you see that he had to work off. So it's almost like instead of the 50 shekels of silver, that's what he had to put in order to get granted his wife. So you would see things like that in the scriptures. But either way, again, the father has to know what's going on, and he has to literally grant his daughter to you. Okay, that's how a proper marriage was supposed to be. And then you had the tokens of virginity. You had a bed set up with white sheets that would prove that the woman was a virgin, and you would keep those sheets, and that would be your token of virginity to show that you sealed the deal with the marriage and the woman's hymen was busted. Okay. That's how, according to the law, you were supposed to, that was actual marriage. Now in this society, we just have to understand we can call a woman our wife and she is. And I'm not saying a contract don't make a woman your wife. I'm not saying that either. What I'm saying is that also according to the scriptures, just like a marriage contract doesn't make a woman your wife, we have to understand we are throwing out that term too as well, even if we don't have a marriage contract. All right, we're throwing out that term too because according to the scriptures, this is the way it's supposed to go down. Now, am I saying that a woman is not your wife? If you with her, I would consider that to be your wife, right? You with her. Y'all been together. It's, y'all have an understanding, whether you sign something, a covenant together too as well. You have that understanding. You could say that, but just understand that when it comes to the scriptures, there was more required. Okay. Because he hath humbled her and he may not put her away all his days. So that's why you can't say sex is marriage, because come on. A lot of brothers are not doing this. Okay. A man shall not take his father's wife nor discover his father's skirt. Okay. Meaning, you're not to take on your father's wife, whether that be, stepmom or whatever, and not sleep with any woman that your father has been with. Okay. And we saw that Absalom did that with King David. But either way, so he was going off. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that out too. You already got, I had Tobit 7 here, but you did already pretty much bring that out in your comment. And we see here verse 13, it says, then he called his daughter Sarah, and she came to her father, and he took her by the hand and gave her to be wife to Tobias, saying, behold, take her after the law of Moses and lead her away to thy father. And he blessed them. See, for the most part, it's rare that you're able to do that in this society. But, verse 14, he called Edna his wife and took paper and did write an instrument of covenants and sealed it. So they did have a covenant. Right. But does that mean that this is the same covenant that the U.S. makes you sign, that your state make you sign to be considered married? Absolutely not. Of course not. So I think anyone pushing that, I think that's false. I think that's wicked to tell someone that they have to do that. But also on the other end, let's not act like, there aren't things that we cannot do in this society when it comes to marriage too as well. So you have to understand that. That's all I'm saying. And when it comes to the marriage contract, you just have to fully understand too that you have the right woman. That's not going to be a concern of yours. Okay. And you're not going to end up like Iman Shumpert. I guess we didn't look that up. I mean, Iman Shumpert is some of the articles I was looking at. Essentially, Tiana Taylor claims ex Iman Shumpert. And Iman Shumpert, if y'all aren't aware, but should be, he was an NBA player. He used to play with the Knicks. Also, he played around the same time as LeBron James, played with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Tiana Taylor is, I don't know, I guess an actor and actress. She's an artist or whatever the case. I don't really know how some of these people even get famous, to be honest. But Tiana Taylor claims ex Iman Shumpert leaked settlement details amid divorce drama. He denies accusations. So the brother is going through a lot right now, it appears. And I think this is the article I saw. This was them together. Or maybe it wasn't this article. It was another one that I saw that, again, Tiana Taylor, she's already with another man. What's the brother name? I think he played as Mufasa or something. I guess he plays Mufasa in the newest movie. But either way, yes, you can end up like this brother if you pick the wrong woman. And especially the younger brothers, you have to understand that. Until you feel you had a discernment to know what's a wife and what's not, don't even think about any type of long-term commitment where you putting yourself out there, where you sign a marriage contract or you putting your assets on the line if you have them. You do not need to do that. You will end up like this brother right here. And even if you have money and have assets, that does not mean that you're going to get a wife because of that, because we see this brother, obviously, I mean, I don't know what he looking like now after retirement, but he probably got more money than an average person, right? Unless he blew it all. But he still couldn't keep this woman from doing whatever they did. All right. So, yeah, that has no bearing. We see plenty of people with money that end up, getting messed over with the mess around. So that doesn't mean anything. But, at the same time, you pick the right woman. You don't pick somebody like this, then you won't have that issue. I mean, I feel like I did a lot on this lesson. Didn't grab the most scriptures, of course, but sometimes it's just like addressing things to a certain standpoint, so we can all level with each other. And I'm not just throwing out a bunch of precepts where we not having understanding of what these things actually mean and being able to relate it to today. Because that's the most important thing about the scriptures, is not just reading them and having precepts and being able to go to scriptures, but being able to apply them and understand what things look like today in this Babylonian system, and the way you can apply the scriptures to your best of your ability to get yourself closer to the Most High, so that, Lord willing, we can make the kingdom, if it's seen, or if the Most High would have us to do so. But that's pretty much it for right now. Lord willing, this was edifying. Engage with me in the comments. Let me know what your feedback is. And until the next time, I bid everyone a mighty shalom.